Welcome back, everybody. I've been thinking a lot lately about journaling for creativity and how it's really made a difference for me. And I wanted to kind of dig into it today.
Yeah, I think when we hear the word journaling, we kind of think Dear Diary, you know?
Right, exactly. Like just kind of that old school idea.
But it turns out there's a whole world out there, like a whole bunch of techniques and approaches that I had no idea about.
And so many benefits, right? Like stuff I never even would have considered.
Absolutely. And especially for people like us, creative types.
Yeah, I used to think it was just you know, a way to process your emotions or track your day.
Right, get it all out.
But it's so much more than that.
It really is.
So we've got some really interesting material here from Listallion.
Oh, yeah, they're great.
And for anyone who doesn't know, they make these amazing journals specifically designed for creative work.
Right, and they've really thought about it, like
Yeah.
what a creative person actually needs.
Yeah, and they talk a lot about the science behind why journaling works, like why it's actually beneficial for creativity.
Yeah, that's super interesting.
There's something about decluttering the mind.
Oh, yeah, that's key.
I was reading about that.
So it's like, when you write things down, you're basically getting them out of your head.
Oh, okay.
And
Yeah.
and that frees up space for new ideas and connections to pop up.
So it's like you're making room for the good stuff.
Exactly. And there's actual research that shows writing stimulates those parts of the brain that are all about creative thinking.
Wow. So it's not just like a feeling, there's actual science to back it up.
It's really cool.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I know for me sometimes when I'm working on a project and I just feel stuck,
Oh, yeah.
like hitting a
Well,
wall
that happens to all of us, right?
all the time.
Yeah.
And I found that just grabbing my Listallion journal and just free writing for like 10 minutes
Yeah.
really
Just
helped.
get it out. Yeah.
It's like it just clears out the cobwebs
I totally get that. It's like that feeling when you're taking a shower.
or going for a walk.
Yeah, and suddenly you have a brilliant idea.
It's like it comes out of nowhere.
And journaling can kind of create that same space in your mind
That's so interesting.
for those insights to bubble up to the surface.
So we know journaling is good, but what makes these Listallion journals so special for creatives?
Well, for one thing, they've thought of everything.
I have to say, I love the feel of the paper. It's so smooth.
Right. That's their 120 GSM wood-free ivory paper.
Fancy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not just about feeling nice, though. It can handle all kinds of mediums.
Like what?
Pen and ink, light watercolor washes, anything you can throw at it.
Oh, that's so important.
Without any bleed through.
Ugh, I've had notebooks in the past where like my pen would just bleed through the pages and it just ruined it.
Yeah, totally kills the vibe.
It's like, why even bother?
But Listallion, they get it,
They get it.
They know what we need.
Yeah, and it's not just the paper. There's got all these other features too.
Right, like those dashed lined pages.
Oh, I love those.
I knew you were going to say that.
They're perfect for both writing and sketching.
They give you structure, but they're not too restrictive.
Yeah, I was working on a logo design for a friend's business a while back,
Mm-hmm.
and I was using my Listallion journal to just sketch out ideas.
Nice.
And the dashed lines help me so much, like keep the proportions right.
Yeah, keep it all balanced.
But still, be creative with the shapes and the lettering.
It's a good balance.
And then another thing I love, the numbered pages,
Oh, yes. So key for organization.
combined with the table of contents.
Keeps everything neat and tidy.
Right. Like I used to have notebooks full of just random scribbles.
Oh, I know that feeling.
And I could never find anything, but now with Listallion, it's like I can actually go back and find stuff.
You can actually reference your old ideas.
I know, which never happened before.
It's a game changer.
Speaking of organization, my sister's a writer,
Okay.
and she was telling me how she uses the back pocket in her Listallion journal
Oh, smart.
to store all sorts of inspiration, like little scraps of paper with quotes on them, photos she's printed out,
Wow.
even dried flowers.
Oh, that's beautiful.
I know, right?
It's like a little portable inspiration board.
It's like they thought of everything.
That'd be really.
It's not just a notebook. It's like
It's like a little studio. Yeah.
a portable creative studio. That's a great way to
You
put
can
it.
take it with you everywhere.
And it reminds me of this story about my friend Alex.
Okay.
He's a freelance graphic designer.
Cool.
And he was feeling so burned out, so uninspired,
Ugh, I've been there.
just overwhelmed with projects and deadlines.
Yeah. Freelance life.
And he told me that using a Listallion journal to organize his thoughts, brainstorm designs, really helped him get back on track.
That's great. It's amazing how just getting everything out of your head
and onto the page.
can make such a
Yes,
difference.
like you can actually see it then,
Yeah. You can start to make sense of it.
instead of it just swirling around in your brain.
Exactly. And that's so important for creative people because we tend to have a lot going on up there.
Yeah, too much sometimes.
So a journal can be like a lifeline,
I love that.
a way to regain control and find your focus again.
Okay, so we've established that journaling can be a huge help for managing that feeling of overwhelm. But is there more to it than just, jotting down random thoughts? Like, how do you actually use these journals effectively?
That's a great question, and there are definitely techniques and strategies that can make journaling even more powerful.
Ooh, tell me more.
We were just talking about Alex and his experience, and it reminded me of how much Listallion emphasizes the use of prompts.
Prompts, okay.
Have you ever tried using prompts in your journal?
Yeah, sometimes, when I'm feeling stuck, I'll just open my Listallion journal and use whatever prompt happens to be on that page.
Really?
Yeah, it's amazing how, like, a simple question can spark so many ideas.
I've done that a few times. It's like those prompts are like keys,
Oh, okay.
to unlock all this hidden creative potential.
I like that.
Yeah, it gives your mind a starting point.
A jumping off point.
Exactly. And that can be so helpful when you're feeling lost or uninspired.
Right, because you don't have to start from scratch.
Totally. And remember how we were talking about Alex feeling overwhelmed?
Yeah, with all the freelance stuff.
Using prompts helped him to focus his energy and generate new ideas specifically for those projects that he was working on.
Oh, so it's not just about getting unstuck. It's about getting unstuck in a way that's actually productive.
Exactly.
That's so helpful.
It's about directing that creative energy where it needs to go.
That makes me think of something else I've been curious about. Like, I know there are different journaling styles, like free form versus guided journaling.
Right.
Is there one that's better for creative work?
I don't think it's about better or worse.
Okay.
It's more about what works for you.
I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, like what resonates with your personality and what you're trying to achieve.
Right.
The free-form journaling, that's all about letting your thoughts flow freely.
No rules.
No structure, no constraints.
Just go for it.
It's like a brain dump.
I can see how that would be good for brainstorming or just like processing emotions.
Totally. Or just tapping into your subconscious,
Yeah, like those ideas that are just bubbling under the surface.
Exactly. I think of it like a mental warm-up.
Okay.
Just letting those ideas spill out onto the page.
Like stream of consciousness writing.
Yeah, kind of like that.
I've tried that before, but I always worry about it just turning into a rambling mess.
It definitely can.
Like, where do you even start?
And that's where guided journaling comes in.
Okay.
It uses prompts, exercises, specific structures to help you focus your writing.
This is more structured.
Yeah, and it helps you explore certain themes or ideas that you might want to dig into.
So it's like having a roadmap for your creative journey.
That's a great way to put it.
I like that.
And Listallion actually incorporates elements of both styles into their journals.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they have the numbered pages for more structured entries,
Right.
and then plenty of blank pages for when you want to just let loose and free write.
So you can kind of switch back and forth depending on what you need at the moment?
Exactly. The best of both worlds.
That's awesome. But speaking of structure, how do you keep all those ideas organized?
Right. Because a journal can get pretty chaotic after a while.
I know, I've definitely been there.
But that's where those numbered pages and the table of contents come in handy.
Oh.
You can actually create like a mini index of your ideas.
Interesting.
For example, you could dedicate a few pages to brainstorming logo designs, another section for website layouts, and so on.
I see.
And then you just note the page numbers in the table of contents, and boom, instant organization.
That's brilliant, like your own personal idea catalog?
Exactly.
I tried something similar recently. I was working on a series of illustrations, and I used the different sections in my Listallion journal to kind of track my progress on each piece.
Smart.
It was so helpful to be able to see how each illustration evolved.
Yeah, from the initial sketches to the final product.
Right. And those numbered pages made it so easy to flip back and forth between different stages.
It's all about making those connections, right?
Totally. And it reminds me of something else that Listallion talks about, treating your journal as a multimedia experience.
Oh, yeah, I love that.
Have you ever thought about incorporating other elements besides writing into your journal? You mean like drawing or painting?
Yeah, or collage, or even just adding little bits of color with markers or highlighters.
I definitely do some drawing and sketching, but I have to admit, I'm always a little hesitant to use anything too messy. Oh, for fear of ruining the pages.
It's like, oh no, I messed up my precious journal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But Listallion uses that high-quality paper specifically because it can handle different mediums.
That's right. So don't be afraid to experiment with watercolors, collage, even ink washes.
Really, it can handle all that.
It's tough stuff.
Maybe I need to be a little more adventurous.
I think you should. Think of your journal as a canvas for your creativity.
Okay, that's a good way to look at it.
A place to truly let loose and express yourself visually.
Now that you mention it, I remember seeing some amazing examples on Listallion's website.
Oh yeah, they have a great Instagram too.
People were creating these incredible mixed media spreads in their journals.
It's so inspired.
Like one person had pasted in fabric swatches and magazine clippings alongside their sketches.
Wow,
It was like a visual mood board.
that's so cool.
I guess I tend to think of journaling as primarily a writing activity.
Yeah, I think a lot of people do.
But it can be so much more than that.
It really can. And that's what's so exciting about it.
It's like the possibilities are endless.
Exactly. There are really no limits to how you can use a journal for creative exploration.
It makes me think about how my niece, who's just starting to get into art, uses her journal as a kind of sketchbook diary hybrid.
Oh, that's cute.
She'll draw pictures of her day, write down funny things that happened, even paste in ticket stubs or photos.
I love that. It's like a little snapshot of her life.
It's so cool to see how she's making it her own, you know?
Yeah, and that's what it's all about, finding what works for you and just letting yourself play and experiment.
And explore.
Exactly.
Speaking of exploring, we were talking about freeform and guided journaling earlier.
Right.
Do you have any personal preferences when it comes to style?
Honestly, I like to switch it up depending on what I'm working on.
Okay.
Like, if I'm feeling stuck on a project, I'll often turn to guided journaling
Uh-huh.
and use prompts to generate new ideas.
Makes sense.
But if I'm just feeling generally uninspired, I might do some freeform writing to see what comes up.
Just to kind of clear your head.
Yeah, and sometimes the most unexpected ideas emerge when you're not trying to force anything.
That's so true. I've had that happen before.
It's like you have to let go of control a little bit.
That reminds me of something I read in the Listallion material. They talk about the importance of not censoring yourself in your journal.
That's huge.
Like it's a safe space to be messy, make mistakes, and just let those thoughts flow freely.
So often we're afraid to put our ideas out there because we're worried about them being good enough.
I know, I struggle with that all the time.
But in a journal, there's no pressure to perform.
It's just you and the page.
Exactly. A place to explore without judgment.
In fact, sometimes those bad ideas can lead to the most interesting breakthroughs.
Totally. It's like you never know where inspiration is going to strike.
You have to be open to everything.
That's the key.
I love that. You know, all this talk about journaling is making me want to grab my Listallion and just start writing.
Do it.
But before I do, I'm curious, what other tips or insights do you have for making the most of this practice?
Oh, there's so much more we could talk about.
I bet.
I think maybe we can save some of those juicy nuggets for another time, though.
Okay, fair enough.
But we can definitely dive deeper into some more specific techniques and strategies in the future.
Sounds good to me. Okay, so I'm ready for those juicy nuggets you were talking about before. Any tips for making the most of creative journaling?
Well, you know how we were talking about using the journal as a multimedia experience?
Yeah, incorporating different art supplies and stuff,
I know, it can feel kind of intimidating.
especially if you're not like, you know, a capital A artist.
Right. But remember, it's your journal.
Yeah.
It's a safe space to experiment.
So there's no right or wrong way to do it.
Exactly. Just have fun with it.
Okay, but how can someone like me, who's maybe a little art shy, start experimenting with more visual elements?
I think the key is to start small. Don't try to do too much at once.
Okay,
Maybe try incorporating some washi tape or stickers.
that sounds easy enough.
I know it sounds basic, but it can really make a difference.
How so?
Just adding a pop of color or texture can change the whole feel of a page.
Oh, I see what you mean.
And Listallion's paper is really great for this
Oh yeah, why is that?
because it's thick enough to handle adhesives without tearing.
Right, right.
You don't want your stickers peeling off.
Speaking of washi tape, I have a friend who does amazing things with it.
Really?
Yeah, she uses it to create borders and frames, even little geometric patterns in her journal.
That's so cool.
I've been meaning to try that myself.
I think you should. And think about other things you might already have around the house. Magazine clippings, old photos, even fabric scraps.
Really?
It's amazing how these everyday items can become art materials.
Like a treasure hunt through your own belongings.
Exactly. And it's a great way to personalize your journal.
I love that idea. My grandma used to do something similar.
What did she do?
She'd press flowers she'd found on walks
Ah,
and then paste them into her diary entries. It was so beautiful.
that's such a sweet story.
I know, right?
Yeah.
And it makes me think, your journal should be a reflection of you,
Yeah.
your interests, your unique creative voice.
It's an extension of yourself.
And speaking of reflection, how does that fit into the whole creative journaling process?
I think it's super important. It's so easy to just keep filling those pages without taking the time to look back and see what you've created.
So it's not just about brain dumping and brainstorming
Right. It's also about absorbing what you've put out there.
and making connections.
Exactly. It's like reviewing the game film after a big match. You can spot patterns, identify weaknesses, and celebrate victories.
So how do you actually go about reflecting on your journal entries?
Well, you could set aside some time each week or month to just flip through your journal.
Okay.
Look for entries that stand out. Maybe they sparked a new idea or helped you work through a challenge
Makes sense.
or simply resonated with you on an emotional level.
You could highlight key phrases, even write little notes to yourself in the margins.
Yeah, kind of like having a conversation with your past self.
I've actually started doing something similar with my Listallion journal. Oh, yeah. At the end of each month, I go back and review my entries.
What do you look for?
I highlight any breakthroughs or aha moments I had and make a list of any ideas I want to explore further.
It's like creating a treasure map for your future self.
I love that.
You're leaving breadcrumbs of inspiration to follow.
It's like planting seeds that might blossom into future creative projects.
Beautifully put. And that's really what creative journaling is all about. It's about nurturing those seeds and watching them grow.
So it's not just about clearing out the weeds. It's about cultivating the garden.
Exactly. Your journal is that fertile ground where your creative seeds can take root and flourish.
Wow. This has been such an eye-opening conversation. I feel like I have a whole new perspective on journaling.
I'm so glad to hear that.
It's not just about keeping a diary. It's about nurturing your creativity and unlocking your full potential.
That's the goal.
And for those of you listening who are feeling inspired to embark on your own creative journaling adventure,
Yeah, go for it.
I highly recommend checking out Listallion's website. Their journals are beautifully designed and their resources are so helpful.
And they have a great community too.
Yeah. But ultimately, the most important thing is to just start.
Just start writing, drawing, or whatever else sparks your creative fire.
Exactly. Don't overthink it. Just have fun.
Embrace the mess, allow yourself to play, and trust the process.
You might be surprised by what you discover along the way.
And who knows, maybe one day you'll look back at those journal entries and realize you've planted the seeds for something truly remarkable.
Until next time, happy journaling.
Happy journaling, everyone.